So here we are, June. June's a great month, isn't it? I think when in Australia we're getting close to the shortest day. When's that? Or have we had that?
21st.
It's at the end of June, I
21st,
think.
yeah, end. Yep.
Oh, it's the end of June, is it? The
Yep.
shortest? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And the English are sweltering in 25 degrees at the moment. Look at Steve. Look, mate, he's struggling, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, we got our longest day.
The longest day, yep.
You guys probably don't have air conditioning because you probably don't need it.
No.
No, we don't have we got things called windows.
Air conditioning. Go and open the window.
Yeah.
That's so good. Anyway, look, great to see you all. As I said, look, it's just amazing. I'm just so grateful for technology and that we get to sit here from far corners of the earth and just be together and have this community and have this ability to check in and chat and share and collaborate and it's awesome. So it's so good to see you all here. I just want to give the guy with the cheesy grin, Adam Wallace, just to give him a quick intro. A lot of you know I'm running a retreat in Bali in July, which is only about 6 weeks away now, which is pretty exciting. And Adam's a very, very good friend of mine. And we've known each other, I don't know, Wally, probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I don't even know what it is now, but
around there. I actually trying to work out the other day. I can't remember. It was at least 2016, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon you're about right. So that's 7 years. But just to give you just a snapshot of this man, he's an author, a very, very, very successful author. He writes children's books. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He's written, you said about 140 books now, Wally?
Wow.
I think so, yeah. I think it's up there now.
140 books. He's sold over 5 million books. He's just about to head off to the US in a few days for a book tour around. It's getting flown over and taken around the US to launch. What's your newest book called, mate?
The one we're doing is a Very Dinosaur Birthday.
So he writes great stuff for kids and has done amazing stuff. And look, he's a good person if you pick his brain. He's self-published. He's been through all the rejections of trying to get published. Yeah. How many, Wally, what did you say? Was it today or yesterday? How many rejections have you had already this year?
This year I've had, I think it's about 90 this year. So,
and for his first book, how many rejections did you get for your first book?
I think I was on about 150. And then I self-published after that because I thought it would never happen. So so I'll be nudging 300 now, I reckon. Be right up there.
So there you go. There's a man who's now a New York Times bestselling author and has been rejected and self-published. He's very successfully self-published, but now he obviously gets a lot of traditional publishing contracts as well because of his success. But you've got to start, and this is the thing, you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to start with that resilience and determination. Well, what we might do just to kick things off, just to really inspire people, if you don't mind, just tell us how you started, why you started, and why you love what you do.
Okay, I don't know if you guys all get this, but I'm getting used to jobbers throwing me under the bus. So this is not unexpected. No, that's fine. That's fine. And you mean sort of started in writing or?
Yeah. I mean, because your background, you were an engineer, weren't you? And then all of a sudden you said, I want to be a writer, and tell us a bit about that leap.
Yeah, cool. I was an engineer out of school. Loved maths in school and loved writing as well until year 12 or final year, and hated every second of it in year 12 and was failing writing and ended up passing after writing stuff that I hated for 6 months and vowed never to write again ever in my entire life. And lasted about 10 years of not writing. And then so I basically I got dared by my girlfriend at the time who was doing professional writing, and she'd written a children's book and illustrated it, and she is still an amazing artist. And so she'd written this story, done these amazing pictures, and I was telling her how good it was. And she said the old chestnut that we hear a bit is that anyone can write a children's book. And I said, well, I can't. And she goes, yeah, of course you can. And I said, no, I couldn't. And she's like, and so she bet me $10. And so I took the bet and wrote a book.
$10, mate.
$10 and I lost it because I wrote one and it was terrible. But it was a moment where was one of those moments where I wrote it and I just sat down and it just flowed out of me. And I'm like, it was that "where have you been all my life" moment. And yeah, that was in 1999, probably around the start of 1999. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I reckon at most I've missed about 2 or 3 days since then of writing. Like I reckon I've written pretty much every single day since then, because it just lit this sort of spark inside of me. And so I went through The Artist's Way. So if you don't know The Artist's Way, any of you, then definitely worth checking out. It unleashed this creativity in me. It's basically, if you haven't seen it, it's Julia Cameron, I believe, who basically says we've all got this creativity in us, and it's for artists, but it's for everyone. We've all got this creativity in us, but we have these blockages, these barricades we put up, these fears, these limiting beliefs that we put up that just blocks our creativity. And so it's a lot of it is just exercises to free up the creativity, going on artist state. So no matter what you doing, just going out and taking yourself out for something artistic or something you enjoy once a week, and writing morning pages where you just write and just whatever comes out, and then you throw it out and you get into the real creativity. So amazing things. Did a few like sort of day-long courses, and yeah, and still at that point never thought it could be anything except a bit of fun and writing, and eventually jumping down the track to when I did self-publish, and I'd gone back and got my primary teaching degree in the meantime as well. And because I knew I wanted to work with kids somehow and get out of engineering, but teaching has its own things that I didn't really mesh with. But when I was working with the kids, I was writing stories and showing them, and they loved them. Mostly there was one moment where I had about 5 kids in front of me, and I was reading them one of my stories, and about halfway through, 2 of them just got up and walked off. And so I sort of realized that story wasn't great. And the kids are they're honest and they're blunt. So, but it was awesome. That's what I wanted. I wanted to work out what worked. And so, I self-published, and they actually sold a hell of a lot quicker than I thought. I did markets and a couple of school visits, and they sold pretty quick. And that was when I thought maybe I could make something of it. So being the very cautious person I am, I waited about another 5 or 6 years doing engineering before I took the plunge and got out. And that was the moment everything changed, I think. Just got this massive weight off my shoulders, and still had contacts with engineering, so I still had that as a bit of a fallback, which was good, I think. And yeah, kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
Short story long.
No, that's good. That's a great story, and I think it's, I think there's some lessons there, isn't there? I mean, I think stuff you've heard, like, we've all got this creativity in us, yes, but what's the thing that stops us is our self-talk and our limiting beliefs, and then really that's the only barrier. But I think the key thing you just said then, Wally, was that moment, 5 years down the track after self-publishing and having some success, you still obviously hadn't made the decision that this is going to be your thing. You thought probably at that stage, oh, this is nice extra income and it's a bit of fun, it's a hobby. But then you just made the decision, this is where I want to go. Isn't it interesting when you make a decision, like I'll give it a go and see? It's like, nah, let's make this work. And it's amazing how things work.
It is. And what I found is that doors started opening up a little bit more. And so I'd built up, as you say, it was just that sort of income on the side. And I was doing it. I'd cut my engineering down to 3 days a week and was doing a market on a Wednesday and a Sunday, and trying to sell the books and doing a couple of schools when I could. And then I built that side income. I think it was just under 20 grand. And I worked out that was enough for me to get by. If I could do 20 grand a year, I could get by on that. And
how do you get by on 20 grand a year?
I mean, this is 2008 or something. So
I still don't think I could have ever got by on 20 grand a year.
Yeah, but you know me, I've got a lot of dietary restrictions, so I can't eat much. So pretty much it's rice and veggies for dinner. So it's pretty easy. But also I was lucky. I mean, I was married at the time, and even though we went 50-50 and everything, my wife was earning money. And so again, there was that safety net there, even though I didn't want to take it. And we didn't have kids, we were renting. So there wasn't a lot of extra. It basically was food and bills. And I knew that I could do that for a year. And if I could do that for a year, and the funny thing was I'd build up to 20 grand thinking, yep, I can live off that. But then when I stopped engineering, suddenly if a teacher said, can you visit our school? I said, yes. So in that first year, the 20 actually wasn't 20. It became more. over that year because I could do more things.
You had more time and space to do it. Yeah.
Exactly, and concentrate fully. And then suddenly, and again, I love how this happens, where you take that plunge, and suddenly I would meet a publisher, and suddenly one of my close friend, or a couple, Gareth and Louise, they went to a dinner, happened to be sitting next to a guy who ran a children's publishing company. So they set up a meeting for me. So these doors just suddenly started opening, and I could take advantage of them. And yeah, so it was amazing how things changed. And it was still slow. Like, it was still a slog. Like, I did over 800 markets over the years, and I've done over 500 school and library visits. And so it was still a lot of legwork, but it just steadily, it wasn't sort of that gradual rise. It was sort of, it would go across and then up and across and up. And slowly, as the income increased a bit, I could self-publish more books, and that made more sales at the markets and schools because I had more books, and that led to more. And yeah, it just kind of built on itself.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. It's a great story. And I mean, look, it just shows whether you're self-published or traditionally published, if you want to be successful, you've got to do the work. And I think there's a really powerful lesson there, because there's a lot of people that traditionally publish and self-publishing end up with lots of books and wonder why. And the reality is they just don't make the decision and really do the work. So has anyone got any questions or any? Well, we got Wally here. Let's use him.
I was going to come and just listen now and talking the whole time.
No, mate. No. I just thought it's good to have you here, because I mean, wow, experience, success, track record, perspection.
Yeah.
That's a bit of an in joke. Wally and I and another guy, Aussie, have got a podcast called the Wally Aussie and Jobbers podcast, and we created a new word in one of our podcasts. And we were trying to work out what's the difference between perspective and perception, and we came up with a new word called perspection. So
I don't think we may have worked out what the difference is, but I think we talked around it for about 40 minutes.
I'm still confused. Anyway, has anyone got any questions they want to ask Adam while he's here? No. So you've inspired people. Okay, well, let's open this up. Let's get some thoughts, sharing, insights. Where are we at? Any questions? Any breakthroughs? Don't be shy. Terry, did you want to say something because you unmuted yourself?
Yeah, Adam, I've just Googled you while I'm sitting here, and you've certainly been a prolific writer. I'm intrigued about Park Boy.
Yeah, that's actually. That was I'd end up through connections in a roundabout way through one of my good friends who was an illustrator. We pitched together, and we didn't get a deal through that, but they sort of put it on their radar. And the publisher actually had the idea. They heard a song called Arty Boy and said, "We'd like to do a book called Farty Boy. Do you guys want to do it?" And we're just like, "Yep." And again, one of those little moments where it was a bit of fun, and it turned into, well, it's going to be 10 books in the end. So yeah, it was crazy and just fun. Like, yeah, really good. And very classy, obviously, as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So how do you discipline yourself to be writing every day virtually for as long as you have?
That's a really good question. I do think the Artist's Way actually really helped. Doing the Artist's Way, which did have these things where it's just every morning, just get up and write for 10 minutes. And literally it was like she said, some days you might write your shopping list. Some days you might write something you're annoyed about. Some days it might be a bit of a story, but getting into that routine, I think, really helped me a lot. And I think also at the start, especially, I was probably lucky in two ways. I've been doing a bit of engineering working from home. So I was already in that routine of doing things at home. And then because it had been 10 years and I hadn't written, I think I just had this overload of ideas basically. And so doing that first year or two, it just kind of set that pattern a bit. And now, I think it's just, it's just, I can't not write, if that makes sense. Like it's
what you do, right?
That's what I do. Yeah, I think so. And just something will pop in my head and I have to do it. And getting to the end of a day where I haven't, I feel a bit frustrated that I haven't written something. So I think that's a bonus and that's fortunate for me that I do love it so much. And even after all this time, last year I had 2 ideas and got more excited over those than I have over any idea I've ever had. And I'm like, that's after 20 years. Like it felt kind of crazy that it could still be that exciting. So yeah, I think I'm really lucky like that. But I think also being a Virgo, and I'm very routine and that sort of system orientated. And the engineering,
you are not a star sign kind of guy. I never pegged you for a star sign kind of guy.
I mean,
you are, mate. Can I just Virgo schmergo? You write every day because you worked hard in the early stages to create a routine. That's what it is for you now. It's like breathing for you. Like you've done it for so many years. It's just, it is part of your DNA now, writing. So when you get it to that point, it's not something you negotiate anymore.
that's probably, I think that's probably right as well. And also I think, and again, everyone's going to write differently, but I'm very much a morning person as well. And so I'm always up quite early. And I just found early on that if I even did a little bit, even if it was those morning pages, or even if I wrote for half an hour in the morning, then it didn't matter if I did nothing else over the rest of the day. But if I did, that was great and a bonus, but I didn't have to. So I didn't, whereas if I don't write until 4 o'clock for me, I just find then I start going, oh crap, I've got to write. Oh, and it's a whole different thing. Whereas I do it in the morning, out of the way, and then I can do it later. And again, initially I was lucky working in the city and living about an hour out of the city, and I would catch the train in. So that was an hour of writing time. So I had that space. And so I think your right job is to just then set up that almost mentality, I guess, or that routine of doing it.
Yeah, it's just building that routine in the early stages when it's not routine until it is routine. That's the hardest work.
It is. It can be a bit of a slog, and I think another thing that was great that I heard was that stand-ups do. It's something like they'll have 3 hours of material for a 10-minute set, and so I think hearing stuff like that and going, and it's turned out that way. Like as you said, I've been lucky enough to have 140 odd books done, but I've written, last time I counted, and this was a year or two ago, I'd written over 3,000 stories to get those 140 books done. So it's probably a similar proportion in a way, I guess, of doing that. And because a lot of that's just practice, and they're stories that I'll never show anyone, but they're almost important to do that writing to get those out, get that out of the way, and to build up the voice.
I think it's important to point out for everyone here, because you're really the only children's author here.
Yes, true. So
we're not saying for the rest of you guys you're going to need to write thousands of books before you actually get one published. All right, just don't take that. But it's different. I mean, because Wally, how many words are in some of your books?
Oh, I mean, my shortest one was 50, but that took me a few weeks to write that one. That was a tough one. I'm not even joking. It did take me a few weeks. But yeah, that's right. They are short. Look, most picture books are about 500 words, and like Fart Boys, 4,500. So they're shortish, and also that 3,000 wasn't before getting published either. Like that's been over the 20 years. So that's been, I was like, that's continuing to write now and do other stories now. So yeah, that wasn't before it all happened. But yeah, you're right. It's very different with the children's books in terms of, once you get in the flow of writing a picture book, it can be a day that you can write one in. Whereas obviously writing longer books and non-fiction and stuff like that, it's going to take or longer novels.
Yeah, and you've got the capacity to edit and to so you don't just go, well, that's not good, and throw it away. You go, okay, well, that's not good, I need to change it, I need to fix it. So whereas Anyway, awesome. G'day, Justin, how are you? Good to see you, mate.
Nice to see you all. Sorry I was running late, but lovely to see you all and to hear a bit of Adam's story. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Okay, who else wants to share? I want to hear from Mike. Oh, good. Mike's got his hand up. Hi, mate.
Yeah. Hi, Adam. I was just wondering, am I working?
Yeah, you're working.
I feel like I'm coming from an opposite direction, in a sense that I've wanted to tell a story, but reading and writing is kind of still alien. Well, it's not alien to me anymore, but I'm dyslexic, so I didn't read books, and I honestly still don't. But it's the only way I can see that I can bring this story out to the masses that I've had in my head for ages. And it's not the medium, but I'm learning it and I'm still going. And I'm also like really interested is when you come up with a story or something, it's almost like mathematics or a song or something. Do you have like a an equation, or I guess that's sounding a bit weird, but like
Formula.
Thank you. Yeah. Like for your stories. So I mean, like I've been listening to heaps of stories and I watch a lot of movies and stuff. I'm a very visual person, so that's like candy for me. But yeah, I generally, everyone can sort of see like a story can build up and then it's nothing. But then, yeah, so you've got all these like little tricks to keep the audience interested. Do you have a map or formula like that you follow? That's a pattern?
Good question. I actually was going to ask you, when you're saying you were dyslexic, I was going to ask if audio books had helped. So it's interesting that you said that you do listen to a lot of books. Have you found that to be a bonus that there's the audio books now?
No, I've tried doing some audio books to be honest as well, and I'm still learning. I'm just learning still, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. So no, yeah, I was curious. I never thought about that. Yeah, look, in terms of the sort of formula, I actually do watch a lot of videos of people talking about screenplays and listen to podcasts about screenplays. So I find that screenplay structure really, it's one that I really am drawn to as well. And there really is a formula, whether it's there's the hero's journey. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but there's the hero's journey, which is great, where
7 types.
Sorry?
That's one of the 7 types.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So the hero's journey is where you get the normal, someone starts in a normal, and so Star Wars is one that follows it pretty much directly. So you start in the normal situation. So Luke's out on the farm and then something happens that's like a sort of call to action. I can't remember how it goes now, which I think is when his uncle and aunt get killed. And then the hero or the to-be hero refuses the call to action, but then something else happened that makes them do it. So it sort of goes through all these steps. So that sort of thing has been really good. There are lots of videos on YouTube on screenwriting structure and things like that, and have been really, really handy. And what I found was a lot of picture books would fit that screenplay structure, but just obviously really, really, really condensed. So what might happen in 15 or 20 minutes in a movie is 3 pages in a picture book, but you still sort of follow all these different points. Yeah. And, there's that moment in the movie where it seems like everything is lost. And that happens in a lot of picture books as well. And so what I'm similar to you. I love movies and I'll watch so many movies. And I would almost, one thing I did, which came from, and Jobbers, I'll try and find it and send it to you, and you can send it through to these guys, was a talk that Kurt Vonnegut did on the shape of stories. And basically just the way he tells it is amazing, but sort of breaking it down, he does a graph. And so basically the y-axis is good things happening, bad things happening. And then the basically got the start of the story to the end of the story. And he talks about how you have good things, your bad things, and all that sort of stuff, and going through like that. So what I would do is then watch a movie and kind of graph it in terms of looking at good, bad, and so just the main moments, like not every sort of little bit.
Exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. So I found that so handy, and watching just a few of my favorite movies and seeing the differences and what worked was really fascinating. So Rocky was one that I did. And Rocky's an interesting one because often you want that sort of, good, bad stuff happening. Rocky's just like bad, with like a little jump for good, then bad. But then the big win at the end, or, the big sort of moment at the end, whereas a lot of others will follow quite a different shape, not that consistent down. But then that fit in with a book I read about the Marx Brothers. And I wasn't a Marx Brothers fan, but I read Harpo Marx's autobiography, which was, I just read it again for about the 10th time. It's one of my favorite books. And so I started investigating the Marx Brothers, and one of their directors said, basically what you want, and he was talking American football, but you want a movie to be like a football game where the home team is being driven back, and they're losing, driven back to their 2-yard line in gridiron terminology. And then in the last second, the last play, they run it down for a touchdown and win. So that's almost that Rocky sort of formula. So things like that, I would just sort of hear stuff like that and just try that for the formulas. And I'm very much again, everyone's going to be different, and it's going to be different for fiction to non-fiction, children's to adult. I tend to usually get a character or an idea and sort of an idea of where I want it to go towards the end, and then just start writing, which so it's very much kind of stream of consciousness, which can lead me in directions that don't work, but also directions I never expected that are just amazing. So for me, I find that really exciting to write like that. And then I'll go back over it afterwards. And so so this one here, actually, so this one, which is Jamie Brown is Not Rich. I actually wrote with that 98, or sorry, with that sort of 98-yard line thing where everything kind of goes, well, they have like a bit of a good moment at the start, then it's just bad, and then it comes good at the end. So I have that idea. And what I did is I just wrote it and then went back and looked at each scene. And this was actually something I got from a person who wrote movies. Look at each scene and go, is it positive or negative for the main character? And kind of a little very short summary of what happens in that scene. And then for this one, because it was a comedic one, is it funny? And I think I may have done why is it there or something like that as well. And to go through like that, and if you've got why is it there and you can't think of anything, then you just chuck that scene. So I almost do that mathematical, really breaking it down in the second draft for me. I know some people might do it in the first one as well, but yeah, so I found basically, again, I've rambled on for half an hour here, but basically that movie structure, listening to people talking about movies, I've found almost more helpful than hearing people talk about books in terms of fiction, especially.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I just want to make this clear to everyone. Like, even you're talking about writing kids' books and Mike's writing fiction, but this hero's journey can very much relate to you writing your own story. Because if you think, when Chris, for example, I mean, you could probably map your story out to this kind of process as well. So, even if you're writing a self-help book based, Stephen, you're writing effectively your self-help with your story. But I mean, I think this structure works in non-fiction as well as fiction. So, because I think everyone's story has that, the highs and the lows. I mean, those people are writing a book, If you're writing a book about your experiences, chances are you've been somewhere normal and you've spiraled, there's been highs and lows, and you've spiraled to this point where this has triggered you to take action and really, I mean, that, Chris, that's effectively your story in a nutshell, isn't it, mate? I mean, you spiraled with your MS and got to the point of attempted suicide, and then, yeah.
Do you know what, Adam? Thank you. I'm writing notes here so much because you're inspiring me, mate. Absolutely. Thank you, because you've given me so many ideas. Thanks.
Adam, we've got to shut you up, mate, because if you want to hear more from Wally, you've got to come to Bali.
But I will just have in there, like, thank you, Chris, for that. That's lovely to hear. And Jobbers, you're right, because even a lot of the stuff in the heroes, one of the big things in the hero's journey is then they get a mentor who sort of helps them through. And again, in our lives, that's really often the case, is when we're in a bit of a spot we need someone, we get that mentor to help us out of it. So you're right. I think it really would apply to a lot of people's lives.
It applies to life.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to shut up now.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, mate. I really appreciate everything you've shared, and sorry for throwing you under the bus yet again.
No, that's fine. I don't mind.
I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not apologising at all. That's awesome, mate. Anyone else got thoughts, updates, breakthroughs, cool things, questions, challenges? That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Go.
I've had a bit of a breakthrough recently for myself, because I've been writing. I joined Andrew's program. Must have been 2014 or something. It got me started, and then I dropped off. And I think it's a gift, but also a problem, is that I have these super huge ideas. But just lately, I think I've had a little, I call it a mini Nova, because I just put so much pressure on myself, and eventually you just can't deal with it. So you punch out, and you literally, like, it fired me up so much and I was extremely grateful. The universe must have answered my call, because I really wanted someone to help me. And the people who are good friends of mine in my life that I thought were the people to go to, I wasn't really getting, I didn't want to push them into anything. So, and then I'm also very introverted, and, you know, so I don't like pushing my stuff onto people, and I wasn't getting the, I guess, the connection that I needed to. So anyway, I met this person and we just kicked it off straight away. We worked together, and now this person, she's reviewing my book as a second pair of eyes. And the feedback from her, even it's not all good, it makes me think I got a hell of a lot of work to go, but that's cool. But it's really like fully recharged my tank. And I've done like more in the last 2 weeks than I've probably done in the last year, and I'm still going. And now it's like what you were referring to before. There's thinking, and then there's doing. And I think I was in the thinking phase for so long, and I'm so fed up with it, that now someone's come in and just popped my bubble, boom, and I've got this incredible resource of support. So that's just
awesome. Good on you. That's so good. Well done. And it doesn't matter how long it takes either, by the way. It just matters that it's done.
And it is very easy to get stuck in that thinking stage as well, I reckon. And I remember I had a year where it was almost like I was scared to write or something like that, I think. And yeah, it spent the year thinking, fluffing around, editing, but really just pretending I was doing stuff. And yeah, it's really easy. And then it often does take just that one person. I ended up going to see a sort of a concert where it was kids, I think from like 13 to 18. It was like a school holiday program where they would do 2 weeks, learn these show tunes and then perform the show tunes. And I went to that, and that was the spark. Like I heard them sing and I went, I want to write a musical. I had no idea how to write a musical. I had no idea what to do, but it was just, it got me going again. It sounds like this person's done the same for you, which is so cool.
Yeah. You just don't know who. It's just like life just all of a sudden just gives you a wild card. Use it.
But you took advantage of it as well, which is amazing, because some people wouldn't. So the fact that you took it and started writing is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, take credit, mate. Take credit. Take credit that you're still in the game. I mean, a lot of people after so many years would have talked themselves out of it, and you haven't. You've always been there. So
Well, I don't want to freak you out, Andrew, but I'm an Aries, and they're apparently very
I've got
stubborn.
no idea what that means, mate. I really have no idea what that means.
That's awesome. I know what it means. My stepdad was an Aries, so I've got you pegged.
Okay, well, I'll have to look that one up. Jump in, anyone.
I'll jump in.
Good, so I've had for you for so long.
It's been time enough. I can see Jean smiling as well. Because so honestly, I don't know even where to start, to be honest. So I'll just say thank you, Adam. I think it's great. All the content you've shared there is just really helpful. Decisions and breakthroughs and finding your own way and finding a spark and all this stuff. I think it's just so important, isn't it? And just kind of take ownership of it. But it's also a process. So you've got to be really kind, I think, as well. What I can hear is just seeing the path that you've created. It's just really, really awesome. And just trusting that you can do it, find your own path in some way. For me, I think some of the breakthroughs were kind of a reframe of what makes me feel good, and if the writing makes me feel good, then really I need to give myself permission to do more. And I think it is about permission for me. And you can get entangled with so many other things going on in your head, and that's kind of the thinking struggle, isn't it? You kind of get stuck in this thinking thing, and then you think, actually, that does make me feel good. So I think I'll kind of give myself permission to do that, rather than feeling that you've got to kind of write a book. For me, that's been really kind of what I'm trying to harness. I can't say I'm actually doing it. The other thing is, finding that time, that travel time you had, it kind of came at the right time for you, Adam, to kind of, actually, I can do it in that time, and having that plan B kind of getting in the way, I just keep what I do doing. That's what I'm doing at the moment. And I've made a decision to kind of literally in the last 24 hours to let part of my career just take a back seat. So I've handed my notice into a job where I do my medical job. And that's taken a big decision. Which I'm
huge. Wow, good on you.
How's
that feel, sir?
I'm kind of a bit vulnerable, which is why I've been a bit quiet. I think it's about having that support from other people, and I think you just get to a point. I think someone else mentioned, just get fed up with thinking. You get to a point where you're just sick and tired of bloody thinking. So the discomfort of letting go is less, even if it's just a tiny bit less than carrying on. I think maybe give it a while, Andrew, and I'll probably kind of know exactly how it feels. It feels right in a kind of a funny way. It's been a sequence of, it's always easier looking back, isn't it? Kind of sequence of events that has led me to actually do it this time, and it's quite fresh. So it
could be a bit scary.
It's a bit scary, but I did it, and to be honest, you kind of think something, the world's going to kind of fall apart, and then actually it doesn't, and the other person says, yeah, that's fine, whatever. I'm thinking, oh shit, that's meant to be really big news for me. I've just given up something, but it's all in your head, thinking, oh my god,
and again, isn't it interesting? I mean, you're thinking that you've given up something, but there's the perspective of, well, what have you actually now allowed more of in your life? When you walk away from it, oh, well, I've given up that, but no, well, what you've actually done is you've created space for this.
Yeah,
flipping the narrative on what it is, or what you're looking at, how you're looking at it. This is this perspective piece, right? How you're looking at it. Have you let that go, or have you given that up? I mean, you've given medicine a lot of years of your life, right? You've helped many, 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 many people over many, many years. So now you're giving yourself the space to create and really focus on the next phase of your life. So
yeah, and I kind of feel, all I can go is that go with is it kind of feels right, although it feels really uncomfortable. It's just
always will. Change does always. That's
always kind of look. I know the hero's journey inside out. I know, I've trod that path in other areas, and I think it is a kind of feeling of bubbling up of excitement at the same time. So it's, I'm not, I'm okay with it, Andrew. I think it's just, I think the takeaways, is just seeing that there's paths, that making it real. I think they're doing it, linking the writing, that something or anything, not to be writing, whatever makes you feel good, whether it's a walk in nature every day or whatever it is, you just feel good about something, is giving yourself permission to feel good, and just make it really quite simple. And framing the stuff that makes you feel good being in the front and center of your life, and I think that's really, really important, whether it be, eating good food, to writing, to, being with people that you like, and giving yourself permission that, it doesn't have to be that complicated. And if it makes you feel good, then really actually right.
That's awesome.
So that's where I'm at, but yeah.
That's great news. That's cause for celebration. So well done. That's courage. That's courage to step away from something. It really is. And you'll look back, trust me. I think, while you would have been the same when you walked away from engineering. I know I certainly, when I walked away from personal training and said, no, I'm going to be a full-time author, there's fear, because you are walking away from something that into something that there is unknown. But with faith, and I think faith is a key piece here, is the faith is just knowing that if you walk if you walk the path, the answers will come, the opportunities will be there, the confidence will grow, the belief will strengthen, even if you don't know where you're going. I mean, that's the whole definition of faith is, the evidence of, what is it? The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things we can't see. That going, well, I've got no idea where this is going to lead, but I just know that it'll lead me where I want to be. And so faith is a big piece, particularly in this journey of being an author, isn't it? For goodness sake. I mean, there's no more faith than writing a book that you don't know if anyone's going to read. Is anyone going to publish? Is anyone going to buy? Are you going to make any money? I mean, is it going to flop? It's the greatest demonstration of faith there is. So it's awesome. So good on you.
And I guess Sue's right as well. Like we overcomplicate stuff so much as well. And I think in the end, a lot of it just comes down to, are you happy? Do you enjoy this? And if we break it down to that, life gets pretty simple. And doesn't mean it's easy, but it gets pretty simple of the things you're going to kind of pursue.
It's challenging when you
like it.
You carry on with things, and the red flags are flying, look, like literally left, right, and centre, and you're just like, no, and the flags can't do this. It's like, yeah, look, I know, and I think I just got to the point where there's lots of stuff, and I know when I feel good, and what I do is when I feel good, and really, it's like, yeah, it's just giving yourself permission to keep it really simple and do what. Good, and then see where
step out of your head and straight into your heart.
That's what it is. And I think the biggest fear is like making the money, which it might sound really kind of basic, but actually you do need to create that income. And so there's this kind of, but that's what I've done for ages. But then having that faith, like you say, that if I do what I like to do, there will be a way.
Yep.
Knowing that there will be a way to make an income from that somehow.
Yeah. Oh no, there's lots of hows. There's lots of ways you'll make money. So lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and opportunities and amazing stuff that you'll go, wow, I didn't even know I could make money from doing this, and you will, But first step, leap of faith, step of faith, which you've taken. So
I'm very grateful being here. So it's just fantastic timing, and thank you very much, everybody.
You're welcome. Pleasure. I just want to just say one thing. I've been rereading Atomic Habits. I don't know if anyone's ever read it. Atomic Habits. James Clear, is that right? Is he the author? And he said something that, and I read it the first time and I missed it. If you ever read a book the second or third time and you pick up stuff, you go, how did I miss that the first time? And he's talking about goals, right? Obviously he's about habit. He's about creating habits, right? That's what he's about. He's not a big rap for goal setting, because he said a goal is when you focus on the outcome. A goal, and we all know that put your hand up if you've set a goal that you've not come anywhere near. Right? Okay. We've all done it, because the goal is the outcome. Okay. And he said the key is the process, the system, right? And this is what Adam was saying. He writes every day, and that's what Terry was asking the question: how do you write every day? Process. When you continually write every day, you end up with 140 books, right? When you continually go to markets and go to schools and make calls, you sell over 5 million books. It's sort of that predictable outcome. But then he takes it one more level, and this is a level I've missed, because as you know, I'm a big one to talk about routine and creating habit and structure and systems and daily and blah blah blah. But he said the foundation of this is identity. What do you believe about you? Because if you've got a goal to be, the goal is to be a published author, then we know the process is to write every day. But if your identity, you're saying to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not really a writer, I'm not that creative. If your identity is that foundation, at some point it's going to derail, because you're not living congruently to that identity you have. So the real work, we know writing every day is not hard. Is anyone that goes, oh my gosh, I don't think I could ever do that, it's so difficult? It's not difficult, it's just a decision. So where the work needs to be is on this identity piece. I am creative. I am adventurous. I am, and you're all creative. We're creative beings, all of us. We're creative in many, many ways, not necessarily artistic or writing. We're creative in ways to be here. We're creative in ways to make money. We're creative in ways to keep our children occupied. We're creative in ways to do a whole lot of stuff. When you work on that, really believe in your heart, I am an author, successful author. I am a creative. I am a disciplined, consistent person. When that's your true identity, then writing's easy, because that's what a consistent creative person does. They write.
It's cool.
Yeah. So it's not when your identity, you're fighting with this identity, when you're trying to push an action which is in conflict to an identity, there's a real disconnect. What is it? What's that word? Cognitive disassociation? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Wow, I'm impressed with myself. I think that's when
something.
Your actions and your thoughts or your beliefs are in conflict. It can't be consistent. It's causing stress, internal. You were talking about the red flags there, Sue, before. Red flags everywhere, because the actions you're taking there's a disconnect with your beliefs or your values or your identity. So you've got to now bring them into alignment. And I think the thing about identity is we say to ourselves all the time, I'm not good enough. But at the end of the day, when you really stop and think about you, like your character traits, I think, so you have demonstrated courage, right? Therefore, you need to say, I am courageous. That needs to become part of your identity. If you've ever created or come up with anything, you are creative. And the key is really now honing in on these character traits that describe who you are, and the ones that are align with you getting the result you want with your book and beyond. Then you make the work so much easier, because it aligns, it flows, it feels right. When you're in flow, everything's in alignment. That's when your identity and your actions line up to achieve a goal that's meaningful. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in.
It's so true. It's so true. It's like I'm my own worst enemy, but I don't want to hurt myself. So I gotta, yeah,
you are. But you're
often the case. Often the case that we are, I think, especially creative people. We're the ones who are going to smash our work the most, I think. And so it is great to have someone else read it, Michael, because even if they have criticism that on certain aspects of it, them liking certain bits it's so great to have someone else say, oh, this is actually really good, because it's often hard for ourselves to see that, especially when we've been working on it for a while. You get sort of this sort of tunnel vision in it, you don't really see it. And so for someone else to look at it with fresh eyes and go, this is really cool, that's massive.
Yeah. And I was get a couple of questions. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, how do you have a particular way of monitoring progress? So how do you keep score?
Keep score.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's like, I get motivated by seeing progress. So I just wondered if you have a particular way that you track what you do.
That's such a good question. And I didn't for ages. And occasionally I would lose that motivation, or I'd go, I haven't done anything for this year. And what I started doing is and again, I think this is sort of that engineering sort of putting things down brain, Virgo brain, jobbers. And what I started doing was actually just in the Word document, I just put in each month, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, right through the year. And basically I just called the file, what have I done? And at the top of it, I just write stories I've written this year, or stuff I've worked on this year, and I just write it down. And then each month, usually as it happens, and if I forget, I sort of go back, I just write in. And often it's to do with writing, but it might even be I went to a concert that was really awesome, and that inspired me to do more. So I actually just almost technically started writing it down. And looking back at that, it's like, oh, I've done way more than I thought. And that almost motivated me to then do more rather than the opposite. So yeah, but I didn't do that. I've only started doing that probably the last 6 or 7 years. And before that, not that I found it hard to get motivated, but then I did have those sort of times that year where I'm like, I don't know, I sort of got a bit scared of writing and I would fluff around a little bit. But now it almost holds myself accountable. Like I don't want to see a month where there's nothing there. Like I haven't submitted something or I haven't written something. So it sort of, it works on my brain like someone else. I'm accountable to someone else almost.
Yeah.
I
just want to add,
really interesting.
I just want to add to that. I mean, I made, I talk about, writing every day, and in 2017 I made a decision I will write every single day and not miss one day for the whole year. And I mean, I haven't since then. Interesting, I have not missed a day writing since the January 1, 2017. But I did that. I tracked every day, and because it's like when you just write 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you in your head, I haven't really done that much. I tracked it. I counted the number of words I wrote, and I kept it on a spreadsheet over every day for 2017. And I said to myself, I'm going to write at least 500 words a day. And it almost seems insignificant. By the end of the year, I'd written almost 200,000 words, which, well, if you look at any sort of, Justin, you look at the books behind you on your shelf there are probably around 40, 50,000 words, right? Like is an average. So I've written 4 books in a year by simply doing 500 words a day. And that for me was same with you, like what you just said, Wally. It was like, wow, look at what I do. It seemed like so insignificant in the moment, in the day, but the compound effect of doing something every day is incredibly powerful.
That's such a good point. And sometimes we get scared off by that idea of, writing every day. But even if, like you say, they're around, say they're 36 to 40,000 words, if you do 100 words a day, you can write a 36,000 word novel in a year. And 100 words is, it's that much on a Word document page. And it feels scary to do. And what I found is setting that sort of goal is you do 100, some days you might do 400. And so suddenly you're a few days ahead. And so, so I think that writing every day, a lot of people get in the mindset of I've got to write. And to write every day means you've got to do at least an hour or 2 or 4 or whatever. And it's hard to find that time, like especially if you are working or you have kids or whatever it is, it's hard to find that time. But 10 minutes sometimes is enough just to do just that little bit, because you're right, it all adds up over the year.
Yeah, it does. Awesome, guys. Look, we're getting towards the end of the hour. It's gone so fast, hasn't it? It's been amazing. Wally, thank you for being here.
Because I haven't shut up.
We've used and abused you over the last 60 minutes, but I'm pretty sure everyone's grateful that you're here and for everything you've shared. Before we do wrap up, has anyone got a final thought or comment or question?
Andrew, I was just going to add that a concept that helped me in the past, that thinking about Michael and Stephen and motivation and those sorts of things, was the phrase, and there's a little book about it called "Measure the Gain, Not the Gap." And for motivation, like so often we think how much we've got to go, and maybe don't enough look back and go, look how much we've done. So that from a progress point of view, I think when struggling for motivation, that idea of measuring backwards to help you move forward. So measure the gain, the progress you've made, rather than the gap of what's still to go or something, has been helpful for me.
Yeah, that's cool, Justin. Thanks, mate, for that. That's great.
Cool.
Okay, so just a couple of things that are coming up. Just if you can, tomorrow at 9 p.m. Australian time. That's tomorrow night. So for the English, that's tomorrow morning. What time is it for you guys at the moment?
It's 11 o'clock now in the morning.
11. So tomorrow at 12 o'clock your time, there'll be another our last info session for the Bali retreat, just because it's getting close. So we've got a couple more spots we'd like to fill. So that's going to be happening tomorrow on Saturday morning, and this is not going to be suitable for the Northern Hemispherians, the UK, and probably not for you either, Gene. But Fred, some of you might know Fred. He's a guy in the US who's just published his first book. So we're doing a launch for him on this Saturday morning, Australia time, at 10 a.m. So that's Australian Eastern Standard Time. So again, that's not going to suit for the English. And Gene, I don't think that'll work for you either. But for the Aussies, if you're free on Saturday morning, we're doing an online launch for him. So, and then, we'll be back here again in 4 weeks' time. But thanks everyone for your sharing. Thanks everyone for being here. It's always incredibly grateful for all of you for what you do, and even just being here, even if you haven't said much. Just your presence is wonderful, and keep doing what you're doing, and keep believing in yourself, and keep doing great things in this world. See you soon.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Adam.
All the best,
Thanks,
everyone.
Andrew. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Take care.